I'm going to begin the next segment. I hope you all have been enjoying the content so far. Yes? What did you guys learn? A lot, right? So let us, you, let you absorb, right? Greens. Mind over body. Control over your mind. All right. So we are halfway through. We have 3 more segments. Amazing 3 speakers again after this. We have a keynote speaker right after I finish talking. And then we have heartfulness meditation, another awesome patron from CWC who is going to immerse you into the heartfulness meditation. And then we will end up with the laughter for wellness. We always have a laughter yoga or something around laughter so that we leave or let you go with all rejuvenated and happy. But that's not the end. We are also giving you all awesome lunch. That's part of your package. And can you believe, for the price that you paid, you are getting to experience such amazing speakers. Who gives you that for whatever amount that you've paid? Who gives you lunch and these awesome speakers? So let's go ahead. The next section that I'm going to announce is a keynote speaker about Code to Positive Psychology. And I'm going to invite Dr. Navneet Singh on the stage. He's right here. He's a pediatrician, and he is a CWC patron. He's been in practice for over 20 years and is working currently in Palo Alto Medical Foundation in San Jose. The keynote speaker that we are going to invite and introduce is Dr. Emmons. So Dr. Navneet Singh, please come on stage.
Thank you, Jayshree, for that introduction. Thank you to Dr. Furman for spreading his wisdom with us today. Thank you to Dr. Basu Roy for educating us. And thank you to Dr. Emmons, who's going to be speaking today about gratitude. So what I wanted to do was start off by just expressing a lot of gratitude to the fact that we're all together. Thank you to all the members of CWC for organizing this event. So, this says join the wellness movement. We are all here today because we're invested in wellness. And I think one of the things that we are realizing from the speakers that we're hearing today is the importance of mind-body interplay in terms of wellness. So I've been in practice for over 20 years, as Jayshree said. And one of the things that I have realized more and more with time is that if you want to be physically healthy, you also have to be mentally and emotionally healthy. Certainly as a care provider, one of the things I strive to do is to make sure that I'm addressing my patients holistically, not just in terms of their physical health, but their mental and emotional health as well. And I think one of the things that we've realized is that one of the things that can really help with our emotional well-being, in addition to things like mindfulness and yoga, is the practice of gratitude. And that's something that I personally am a big proponent of as well. So very lucky that I get to introduce Dr. Robert Emmons. So just wanted to tell you a little bit about Dr. Emmons. He's very, very accomplished. He's a professor emeritus of psychology at the University of California at Davis, where he taught from 1988 to 2021. He received his PhD from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. He's the author of over 250 publications. Wow. Amazing. In journals, and he's written many different books all about the importance of practicing in gratitude. He's the founding editor and editor-in-chief of the Journal of Positive Psychology. And he's a frequent speaker at professional conferences, including places like Yale, Oxford, Stanford, Columbia, Cornell, and here in Fremont. You get to add that to your impressive list there. He's also been the principal investigator or co-principal investigator for over $15 million in research with the NIH. And he's appeared on a bunch of different shows and written for a bunch of different publications. So we're super lucky to have him here. I'm very grateful to have him here. So please give a big round of applause to Dr. Robert Emmons. Appreciate it. Yeah,
To be on the stage.
I think it's time to update that bio because in December I'll be married 28 years. The 2 sons are gone and 1 dog is gone. So the house is much quieter than it used to be. But, thank you very much, Dr. Singh, for the very generous introduction. Thank you, Pankaj, for the invitation to be here today.
Mic is on.
Which one? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start again. Good. So first of all, just want to say I'm humbled and honored to be here today in this beautiful space and this sacred place, and excited also just to share with you what I've learned about the science and practice of gratitude. Okay? I've been studying this topic for 25 of the 35 years that I've been at Davis. 1988 to 2021. See, I wanted to make it to 2021 because I wanted to say I taught in 5 different decades, which sounds pretty impressive, doesn't it? It sounds like I taught there 50 years. Not quite, but if you go to the end of one, beginning of another one, it was fun to do. I had great students, one of whom is here today in the audience. Met her a little bit a while ago, so it's awesome to continue to see students who were impacted by University of California, Davis, in great ways and doing some great things today. You've been to the Grand Canyon, right? How many of you have been to the Grand Canyon? It's pretty impressive, right? I have one friend who said he was not very impressed by the Grand Canyon. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I thought it was. And for me, sharing the science of gratitude, it's like standing with a group of people who have never been there to the Grand Canyon saying, look at that, look at this. That's so exciting. You know, that's the way I feel about the science of gratitude, especially sharing it with a new audience, or mostly new audience. I know a few of you. And so what I want to do today is just talk about, what we've learned, what gratitude is, why it matters, the difference it makes, and how to get more of that. And that's what I've been spending roughly the last quarter of a century doing. For that time, my work, and really my life for that matter, has been dedicated to declaring and demonstrating one basic point. And that is that gratitude is the deepest touch point of human existence. Now, I know that sounds like a big claim, a bold claim. Almost sounds like it's exaggeration, right? Surely you're overstating the case. Gratitude, yeah, that's important. But the biggest, deepest touch point of human existence, what does that mean for that matter? How can that be? Well, hopefully I'll be able to convince you that it is the deepest touch point. People have said some seemingly even more outrageous things about gratitude down through the ages. It's been called the secret to life, the key that opens all doors, the greatest of the virtues, the most passionate, transformative force in the cosmos. Right? That's pretty impressive sounding. Now, as a scientist who does studies, does research, performs statistical analyses on data, conducts randomized controlled trials, I wasn't going to accept those statements at face value, right, without saying, well, does gratitude really deliver on its promise and on its potential? And here's a little spoiler alert, it does. Okay? But the way in which it does is not always the way we think it's going to, and it does so in some very interesting ways, in ways that matter greatly when it comes to our health and wholeness and wellness and fullness, and gratitude does in fact deliver on its promise and on its potential. But we need to unpack that. So what I want to do with you today in the 25 minutes or so that I have is just talk about the science, give you an introduction to the science and gratitude, what it is. And I think it's so important that we really can't understand ourselves or even life itself without understanding the nature of gratitude and gratefulness. And that's why I make this statement, this claim that it's the deepest touch point of human existence. And hopefully by the time we get done here today, or time at least I'm finished with you in a half hour, our understanding of gratitude will become a little bit deeper and bigger and better and broader and all those sorts of things. So maybe a good place to start is just think about right now something that you are profoundly grateful for. Think about that. Get a vision or an image of that, something that you've been given. My spiritual tradition asks, what have you received? What do you have that you have not received? Right? We've received everything. So think about something you've received. It could be a friendship. It could be education, life itself, the universe. It could be almost anything that you have received. Recall a time where you gave thanks for that which you've received, and just dwelling in that, just living in that moment for a second, you start to feel changes inside, right? It feels good to dwell on that, doesn't it? It feels good. There's a natural feeling in the body when we're thankful, a sense of calmness, a sense of compassion rushes over us, along with a desire to give back the good that we've received. And so I've tried to unpack the nature of gratitude, what causes it, what does it cause people to do, and the more I study it, the more complex it gets, the more we learn about it, and so that's kind of a fun thing to do. Sometimes we dismiss it. We say, isn't it just saying thank you or being grateful, and that's nice. There's really not much more to it than that, is there? And of course, psychologists, we tend to make things very complicated very easily. What comes to mind? Here's a question for you. Let's start there. What comes to mind when you hear the word gratitude? Just shout out one word, one phrase, one concept. Thank you, okay. Happy. Goodness, contented. Pay it back, right? Pay it forward. Kindness. Good karma, peace. All good things, right? Notice gratitude has a positive resonance to it. Positive associations. People don't usually say that gratitude makes them feel stressed, depressed, angry, anxious, alone, isolated, right? Now, that might not be that surprising, right? So even though it's unsurprising that gratitude makes you feel happy, content, peaceful, and so on, it's certainly not trivial or inconsequential because it really does matter when it comes to developing a life of happiness, wholeness, wellness, flourishing, which is a term being increasingly used these days. They all overlap with respect to that which we want most out of life, which is long-term joy or long-term happiness. I would submit to you, and I think we have the studies now to show that the practice of gratitude, especially gratefulness, which is really gratefulness over time, a way of looking at life, as opposed to gratitude in the short term as a feeling you get when you receive something good or a benefit. That's nice. Gratitude is good, but gratefulness is even greater. And that's what I've been trying to study, that distinction between the two, especially recently. Okay, so let's start with the definition of gratitude, and I won't belabor the point too long, but I do think of gratitude as involving two steps or two stages of how we think about things happening to us. First, we acknowledge the good. We see that life has good things in it, benefits, goodnesses, blessings, gifts, favors, and the like. And I would say that we actually celebrate the good. We say yes to life. We affirm that life is good. Life has good things in it. Life has gifts in it. So that's a celebration. But secondly, we recognize where these good things came from. We attribute them to sources outside of ourselves. Could be friends, could be relationships like family, could be spiritual beings, could be God, could be just the universe. So there's a variety of givers of these gifts. One thing that's in common is that we didn't give the gifts to ourselves. And yes, we can be grateful for certain qualities or talents or skills, strengths that we have, but we don't usually give ourselves a gift and feel grateful for it. It does require outside agency of some sort that we acknowledge as a giver of these good gifts. That's where gratitude begins, and that's how I have defined gratitude. Seems to work pretty well for most people. Say, yeah, I understand. That sounds reasonable to me. There's this whole science of gratitude that has really accelerated over the last 20 years. This is a graph. I don't know how well you can see it, but notice the bars get bigger to the right because that's more recent. These are the number of peer-reviewed journal articles just in one database, one journal database, which are medical journals, PubMed. And what we see in the last 12 years, 13 years now, there's been more studies published than in the previous almost 50 years. So what we're learning really recently, right? There's a whole new science of gratitude. The amount of data now is so big. The mountain of data is so tall, no one person can scale it, which is great. Because it used to be that, well, yeah, I think there's a study on this, but probably not, so go ahead and do a study. Now we know that. Now we have a whole, journals packed with hundreds of studies examining the connection between gratitude and something else. Something else being, well, we're going to see in just a moment. But I just want to share this saying to show you that the science has been growing rapidly over the last 20 years. Why is that? Well, people realize that, of course, gratitude is valuable, it's important. It's something they can do, create for themselves. They can use gratitude to empower their way of looking at life and reap all the benefits. But also there's been research funding, which is also a very good way to start a field, right? When someone or a foundation or multiple organizations invest $15 million. It's somewhere between $15 and $20 million right now in the science of gratitude. That's a really good way to jumpstart a field and to learn more and more about its impact and how we can harness its impact for better living. I began with a relatively simple question, at least I thought it was simple, and that was, what's the connection between gratitude and happiness? It seems like if you were grateful, saying thank you, noticing things you were grateful or thankful for, you ought to be a little bit happier, more content. Some of the things that you mentioned, feel kind to others, maybe give back to the good, become more generous, giving, forgiving, which it's just true, people do that as well. So I ran some studies. I ran some randomized controlled trials, which you know is the gold standard for research in medicine, also in the psychological sciences as well, particularly when you're dealing with things like looking at outcomes like happiness or flourishing outcomes. We randomly assigned participants to different conditions, one of which was a gratitude condition. So instead of giving them a gratitude shot or injection or pill or surgical intervention, we just had them write a journal of what they were grateful for. And we randomly assigned people to do other sorts of tasks on a regular basis. We did this for a period of 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 months, and so on. Randomly put them in different groups. Now, more than 10,000 people all over the world have been in these studies between the ages of 8 and 80. And one of the beautiful things about gratitude, by the way, is that it's available to everyone. You're never too old, too young, too sick, too healthy, too rich, too poor, too whatever to practice gratitude and to reap the benefits of grateful living. And the data seem to bear that out as well. Well, what are some of the things we found in these studies? I don't know why I have all these notes. I'm just professors. But that's gratitude. It's momentary, but it's also enduring disposition over the life course as well. Well, just a few things to point out, and that is gratitude makes life better in at least 3 different domains: emotional, relational, okay, and also physical. First, the emotional, relational. So grateful people, they are happier, they have more energy, they're more alert, they feel more attentive, they feel more alive. They're about 25% on average happier than people who are not keeping gratitude journals, who are asked to do something else in these randomized controlled trials. They get along better with others, right? So they're more likely to develop closer, more connected relationships. People like them better. People like grateful people better than they do like people who are complaining or ingrates. Big surprise there, right? Well, data suggests that's the case, but grateful people also feel more connected, less isolated, less lonely, less alienated than those who are less grateful. They give back. Can you see that one on the right? Grateful people actually pay it forward. So they're more generous, more giving, more forgiving, more compassionate. Gratitude inspires people. There's an inner urge to give back. When we receive something good, if you've been blessed today by the talks, by the speakers, you might consider giving back. I'm sure there's some sources out there, like perhaps right here, as you can see, Crack the Wellness Code. A great place to give back the good that you've received today and the good that they're doing. Grateful people just do that spontaneously. It's an amazing thing that there's a quote by he was a former dean of the law school at Yale University, pretty smart person. He said, the worst tragedy that can befall a person is that when they are blocked from giving back the good that they've received. You have a desire to express gratitude, and you can't do that. You're blocked. He says, that's a very difficult situation to be in. So when you thank someone, you know that. When you thank someone and they dismiss it, they say, not a problem. Don't worry, I was just doing my job. You should feel dismissed in that situation. We want to be good givers, but we also want to be good receivers of other people's gratitude. Okay, and then the bottom 2, we notice that grateful people actually are more resilient, more resistant to stress, both the major stress So what I call the deadly Ds of despair, depression, dysfunction, disease, divorce, all the terrible Ds, right? Grateful people cope better with those sorts of things, as well as the slow drip of everyday life. The little minor hassles or daily stressors. Grateful people are less bothered by those. So it benefits stress resilience. Okay? Grateful people are more resilient to stress, both the big and the little stress. And then they're less depressed as well. Grateful people show lower levels of depression. They recover more quickly when they are depressed. They have a tendency to, because they're focusing more on the good things, what they're experiencing, as opposed to the bad things that they're missing. So study after study finds sustainable, measurable, impactful effects of gratitude practices or the trait of gratitude, anywhere between 15 to 25%. These are big effect sizes. These are sustainable over time. 6 months, a year later, when we go back and interview the people or assess them again on our measures, the various outcome measures, you still see these differences. It's amazing. You really can't overplay the hand of gratitude, is what the studies are showing. Gratitude is also good medicine, not surprisingly, and you'll want to know that. Maybe you already know that already. There's a number both in terms of health behaviors, like better sleep, okay, better diets. I don't know, the studies are not quite that fine-grained that you can show that grateful people eat the sorts of diets that we heard about this morning, but we do know overall that grateful people eat less fat in their diet, so less saturated fat. They get more exercise, on average 25% more than people in a control condition. Grateful people exercise more than less grateful people. That also holds. So we see study after study showing that gratitude is good medicine. It gets under the skin, inside the bodies, and then raises, improves, increases, promotes, enhances all the good stuff, and it decreases or diminishes, attenuates all of the bad things at the same time. So that's pretty cool. I always found the sleep studies the most interesting, probably because I never get enough sleep, and as I get older, I enjoy sleep even more. And I'm wondering always, what can I do to get better sleep? Turns out 10 different research studies independently have confirmed that gratitude facilitates sleep quality, sleep quantity. You wake up, you feel more refreshed the next day. You fall asleep more quickly, less likely to wake up during the night because of sleep dysfunction. So no bad side effects, unlike sleep medications, right? In fact, a friend of mine who studies gratitude and leadership in organizations, he says the upside of gratitude is that there's no downside, right? Thank you. Believe that? No bad side effects, right? Gratitude works, is what I like to say. I'm going to show you that conclusion in just a moment. Just one more slide now. So clinical biomarkers have also been being measured. It's not just what people say, yeah, I feel more energetic, yeah, I walk more, that sort of thing. Okay, that's nice, and that's important, of course. But when you start to show it at a biomarker level, measures of inflammation, right? Cholesterol, studies showing, I just read a literature review showing that grateful people have lower triglyceride levels, right, over time. What else? C-reactive protein, okay, lower levels of that, less depression, reduced rate of smoking. Again, study after study is finding. I love these little signs that I run into when I go to the doctor's office at my UC Davis medical offices, and they're aware of the fact that gratitude is important. Gratitude matters. Gratitude heals. It's good for patients. It's good for providers as well. Grateful patients is a good group that have been increasingly studied in the healthcare because patients, as I mentioned, they're great. They want to give back the good they received. And so that's a huge industry, and it's quite fascinating. It's important because it's important for the healing process. It's important to complete that cycle between receiving and giving back the good. You just don't feel complete until you have an opportunity to give back in some manner to which you've received. All right, so people ask me sometimes, so Dr. Emmons, can you just summarize? We don't have 40 minutes, 30 minutes. We can't read a book, about gratitude. Just give me like the short version of it. Okay, we can summarize in 2 words. Gratitude works. Okay? How many of you believe that gratitude works? Yes. Okay, I guess I'm done then. My work is done. I'll just quit. Just stop right now. No, unpack that more, though, and we say that gratitude has the ability to heal, to energize, and to change lives. This is what people are reporting in these controlled studies. People who contact me or my colleagues and say, gratitude changed my life. They say, I was in a dark place. I was depressed, I was addicted, I was afflicted with this condition, and somehow I found help. I found healing. Someone believed in me, someone supported me, someone did something for me I couldn't do for myself, and that started me on a trajectory toward better living. And it got them out of that hole they were in. Some people so deep they had to reach up just to touch the bottom of that hole, and they found help and healing in a gratitude practice. And that to this day is what continues to inspire me. That plus I know personally that I need gratitude because I'm not the most spontaneously grateful person, okay? And so one of the reasons why I continue to write and talk and do research is to convince myself this gratitude really is a good thing and that we all need more of it. So it's interesting why people study what they do, what keeps them going, and that's one of the things which keeps me going. Well, it works in the medical setting as well. We know that gratitude works individually, it works at work, and so there's been several studies in healthcare studies looking at healthcare providers. One of my favorite ones published some years ago, now I guess it was 2015, compared several different groups of healthcare providers, therapists of various sorts, nurses, doctors, occupational therapists, the whole range. And it found that those who wrote twice a week, minimal intervention, twice a week wrote down things they were grateful for, were less depressed and less stressed compared to those who were in a waiting list control condition. Right? How important is that in the midst of continued, burnout, high levels of stress and strain in the healthcare professions? The authors of the study concluded that reductions in perceived stress and depression, these positive effects could have an improvement in both productivity and quality of patient service. It's like, why wouldn't every medical center, why wouldn't every medical school want to teach gratitude as part of mind-body practices, given the results are so significant and it's something you can easily adapt. The costs are low, the benefits are high, again, no bad side effects. But the question becomes, why does gratitude work? Okay, now again, here I could have shown you some charts and arrows and graphs of pointing out different physiological reasons. I like to summarize it though in terms of 3 basic points, which I call the arc of gratitude. The arc of gratitude. Number 1, gratitude amplifies. What is it? Amplifies the good in our lives, the good we see around us. An amplifier turns up the volume, right? Like a microphone turns up the volume, or reading glasses amplify what you're looking at. Gratitude amplifies the good that we notice in other people, in the world, in ourselves. We need that, right? We need to turn up the volume on the good. The reason why is that? We heard about already today, is that our minds inherently and naturally do the opposite. They turn up the volume on the bad. So we need to be rescued from the bad. We need to be rescued from negativity, entitlement. Think of the obstacles of gratitude. What gets in the way of it? Comparison thinking. Stress, life itself can be difficult to find reasons to be grateful. It sometimes just seems more natural to complain as opposed to compliment, right? Well, gratitude can turn down the volume on the bad at the same time turning up the volume on the good. And then third, gratitude connects us. It connects us to other people. It connects us to the best and highest parts of ourselves. Gratitude is connective that way because we're focusing on the good that other people are doing for us, favors they're securing for us that we could not have done or secured for ourselves. It strengthens relationships. It's in the context of relationships where the power of gratitude is most keenly experienced and observed, or lack thereof, if that is the case. Right? One person said it's the fuel that keeps relationships going and growing every day. Think of a long-term relationship, family members, friends, colleagues. Without gratitude, those relationships, they would sputter. They would honk out over time. And so we need that to smooth over our relationships and to deepen them and to strengthen them. It's the fabric that connects us. Gratitude is connective that way. This was an example. I'm not going to spend too much time or belabor this next point. But I like to sometimes traffic in metaphors. Metaphors can communicate basic truths that in a more, I think, colorful or memorable way. A friend of mine said this. He said that gratitude is fertilizer for the mind. That fertilizer is something that makes things grow better. It strengthens connections, the roots, it deepens them, and so forth. And we had, by the way, an amazing tomato crop this year. And I live in Davis, and we're surrounded by tomato fields, so it's not surprising that they would do well there. But also, I used a new liquid fertilizer this year. It's good kind. It's good for the soil and the environment, all that stuff. And they just went out of control, the tomatoes. And I think that's gratitude. He said that's what it does to the mind too. It improves connection and function in every area of the mind. So that seems to be the case. And so there's some research. I don't have time to go into depth here, but people are looking at the neuroscience of gratitude. What goes on in the brain when we're grateful? Okay. Again, there's a simple and a complicated way. Does that have a pointer on it? Oops. Oh no. So you see this picture there. So the brain is reaching out and connecting to the heart, shaking hands. That's what's happening. You just can't notice that. It's a very high-level neuroimaging machine that reveals that sort of image. But more so, the one on the right. Gratitude is a very complex social emotion, and it's hard to isolate that in the brain scanner. But what the experts are telling us is that it involves multiple brain systems. Reward networks, like the ventral medial prefrontal cortex, is one. Pleasure centers, as you would expect, and you heard about that in the earlier talk today, they're activated by food and money and all those good foods that are apparently bad for us. So, well, gratitude does the same thing. Okay, gratitude would be a good addiction, right? So there are some addictions that are good. I think gratitude would be one of those. And then a cognitive social perspective taking, which is the medial prefrontal cortex, and then an empathy and pain network, which is important because when we are grateful, we are sensitive to the cost of someone else who did something for us, who would activate circuitry in those centers as well. So I think that's an interesting direction that the science is taking. It can help eventually elucidate some of the neurobiological mechanisms by which gratitude results in better health. Okay, gratitude works anytime, anywhere, for anyone. However, what I've noticed, because I've been doing this for a while, sometimes there's some pushback. You know? People say, yeah, okay, but what about when gratitude does this? What about when it doesn't work anymore? So, yeah, gratitude, but. They start to put on the buts and the brakes when it comes. Let's not rush into things, you know? Is gratitude always a good thing, or are there any, contraindications for gratitude? So I've tried to put together a list of these over the years, and I'm just going to mention, I don't like to go over more than 2 or 3 at any one time, but here's a few. You might have heard things like this. Maybe you have an objection like this. The 3 that I mentioned here are positivity, passivity, and phoniness. Okay, the 3 P's or gratitude myths. Some would say, gratitude seems like a good thing, but isn't just positivity. It's just kind of like denying, suffering and pain, adversity. It's like toxic positivity, always looking on the bright side. It's not realistic. You can't sustain it in the real world. That's what they say. All these are myths, by the way, because we can point to the evidence in turning these upside down. Okay? That, in fact, gratitude is not toxic positivity. It's actually a sign of flourishing flexibility because it enables a person to look at an event or experience in a multiplicity of ways and extract some goodness even in the face of badness, a point which I'll come back to in just a moment. Others would say, doesn't gratitude make people passive? It underlies patience and complacency. They become apathetic. It undercuts ambition. If I'm grateful for everything, I'm not going to be motivated anymore. I'm just going to be satisfied with the status quo. Totally false again. Okay? Because gratitude empowers people to go out there and live lives of purpose and meaning, and they become more generous, more giving, grateful patients in their families. Give 80% of the charitable giving that takes place in hospitals and healthcare systems and teaching hospitals is given by grateful patients and their families. That doesn't sound like complacency or passivity to me. So that's a myth as well. And the last one is like phoniness. You'll say, you should, if you don't feel grateful, you shouldn't say thank you. Isn't that phony? You're not being authentic. Well, I don't know. It seems to me if someone is kind to me or does a favor for me, I owe them thank you, right? It's just an element of civility. It's an element of being a good citizen, right? Do I feel grateful or not is almost beside the point, right? So I think that you can undermine that myth as well. That's just a few of them. So I like to think gratitude at this kind of level, considering all its nuances, and you find that it's much more complicated than just saying thank you when something good has happened. People do hold these sorts of beliefs. I think the one about being positive, that is only about looking at the good, we tend to think about gratitude. We look for the good, we notice the good, we celebrate the good, take in the good, give back the good. It's all about good, 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 right? But as we know, life is full of suffering, and stress is inevitable and unavoidable, both the big as well as the small stress. Turns out, though, gratitude is not just a switch we turn on when things go well, it's also a light that shines in the darkness. And as I mentioned, people have contacted me and said, you know, people who have been addicted, they've been adult survivors of child abuse. A girl in her teens wrote to me and said she was addicted to drugs and was suicidal, and she found help and healing in a gratitude app on a phone, and she wanted to become a psychologist because of that. And a woman in her late 80s had multiple episodes of depression all over her life, and she finally started, in her words, becoming aware of what she was grateful for. She heard a message about gratitude in her church in Florida, and it totally changed her life at age 87. Right? And that's the kind of thing that makes me think that gratitude is not most appreciated by people who are already happy, flourishing, doing well, and they want to just get a little bit, you know, want to move from a 9 to a 10 on some flourishing scale. It's usually people at the -9s, and -7s, the -6s that want to just need a new lease on life, a reset button, a do-over, and so on. And they realize that there are opportunities to heal through gratitude, to connect more deeply with oneself and with others. One such individual is Nicola Chambers Holder. I'm going to share with you a little video as we wrap up here. She was a person who was going through a very difficult time. Working mother of 4, graduate student, serious mental, physical health issues. She discovered through the practice of gratitude, she was able to get through a difficult time, become stronger, become a better person, and a better version of herself, and come out feeling more whole, more connected, feeling, when you feel defeated, depleted by life, you can go to a grateful center, grateful place, for example, in your mind, or physically go there. That's what she did. She developed a practice. This is normally the point where I talk about gratitude practices, give a whole list of things to do. I don't like to do that because I don't like to-do lists myself. Because I always feel bad because I never get very far on my to-do list, you know. Even if I do get very far in them, it seems like we celebrate the fact we cross them off our list as opposed to actually, you know, growing and doing the things that are on the list, like gratitude. But I want to share with you, if we can get the video to work, her story about gratitude walks, walking in gratitude, which she developed and how it brought healing and wholeness to her life.
In the mornings, I think about the fact that I get to actually enjoy this day. But how do you say thank you when your life is falling apart? How do you practice gratitude? I was so determined to prove I could be that mother of 4 that makes sure she's going to PTA and working full-time and going to school full-time and just keep pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. That's when I was diagnosed with chronic depression. Okay. I just couldn't function. Then I had to have 2 major surgeries. I had a hysterectomy, bladder replacement. That took everything. I remember I tried to get up to use the bathroom and I couldn't. And I remember pulling myself to the floor and was crawling to the bathroom. And I just started crying because that wasn't the place that I wanted to be. But all of a sudden, whatever was inside of me said, be grateful. And that's where my healing began. As I got stronger, I started to walk the trails. And as I walk in nature, it started doing something to me. everything just felt whole, I would just say thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you that I get to walk today. So then I started to call it Gratitude Walk.
Hey, Nicola.
I started to invite my friends.
So nice to see you.
I decided after that I'm going to start a Facebook group. And now we do that every Saturday. After my experience, I did some research on gratitude because I wanted to understand what exactly was happening. Now I realize that it actually is one of the best therapeutic tools that you can use to take care of yourself. Before I couldn't see that. When I used to look at things, I would be like, oh my God, this is going to threaten my safety. I'm not going to be able to have money for this. I'm not going to, it's stressful. But now I know if I just say thank you, stress is gone. And gratitude makes you present. That's one of the quickest ways to ground you and immediately just get some happy hormones flowing. The stress decreases because now you look at uncertainties as opportunities, not threats to your well-being. I've seen how that has humbled me. It's changed who I am. That's what gratitude does.
So powerful. So what she says there, Nicola, is that it changes how she looked at life. I think that's what gratitude does. It's a way of seeing that changes our gaze. It's about going from threats to opportunities or possibilities, blessings where you used to see burdens, right? Prosperity starts to emerge out of adversity. I love this quote. I'll close with that. The author says, choose to see the world through grateful eyes. It will never look the same way again. So gratitude just seems so humble, so unassuming. We think it's just thank you, but it's much more than that. One person said that gratitude not only opens hearts, it also gives us new perspectives on our own lives. It stretches through our experiences, past, present, and future, creating a fabric of appreciation and awareness that forms the story of who we are. It is a trait, an emotion, a set of habits, but ultimately gratitude is a place, perhaps the place, where we find our truest and our best selves. So thank you very much. Thank you. Did we save time for questions? Did I take up all the time?
I think we don't have time for question answers. We are quite over.
Uh-oh, okay.
But we can do
I'll be around for a while, and
But-
so I'm happy to talk to you. I'd love to meet you. Happy to talk to you if you have any questions. I just want to share. I'll be out.
Thank you.
Yes,
Oh, wait.
but don't go away. I would like to invite Dr. Navneet on the stage, please. So beautiful. I'm just impressed at the amount of research that has gone into what is gratitude. I mean, what is the upside of gratitude? There's no downside, isn't it? That was just so beautiful. I mean, thank you, doctor. This was eye-opening. We all know that we need to be grateful, but it's difficult many times. And he talked about phoniness. So if you're on social media, if you don't want to like somebody, don't like it. No need to be phony there. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Navneet to say last few words and hand over this gift to him. Yes. Yes. So I am also handing it over. There's one small announcement which I'm going to have Dr. Navneet make that. It's about a non-profit gratis app. Since we are talking about gratitude, what better segue to know what this app is? So Dr. Navneet, please.
Thank you, and again, thank you to Dr. Emmons. So just wanted to take a few quick minutes to talk about a personal journey that I've been through in terms of gratitude. So I'm a pediatrician, and when we went into the pandemic, it was a really rough time for all of us. And for me as a pediatrician, over the last 3 years, unfortunately, I've seen more and more of my patients coming in with anxiety and depression. It's been tough. So it sparked me to do some research in terms of happiness. What is it that we can do to try to get a little bit happier during these difficult times? So Dr. Evans knows way more about this than I do, but as I started to do research into happiness, I also uncovered the fact that gratitude is one of the key ways in which we can make ourselves happier. And I think really important point that Dr. Evans made is that the importance of gratitude as a relational transaction, and how gratitude gets amplified if it's done in the context of a relationship. So I decided to step completely outside of my comfort zone and decided to create an app. I worked with my father-in-law, Mr. Bakshi over here, who linked me in with a development team in India, and it took about 3 years and lots of ups and downs and reiterations. But I have released a non-for-profit app, which I would love for you guys to try out. It's available under the App Store under Gratis Foundation. And basically with the app, what you can do is thank people for acts of kindness by donating to a charity on their behalf. So basically with the app, if somebody does something for you that just kind of goes out of their way, instead of just sending them a text message saying thanks a lot or giving them a gift card to a coffee shop, you're actually able to, yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, so thank you, Pankaj. So this is what the app looks like. Again, it's under Gratis Foundation on the App Store. But basically, thank you. So if someone does something nice for you, you can actually donate to a charity on their behalf, and they get a message on their phone saying, thanks a lot for doing that for me. I'm gonna donate to this charity on your behalf. So I think the impact of this is fourfold. So one is that as you give gratitude, it makes you feel happier. As the person receives gratitude, it makes them feel happier. You're also supporting charities, and you're also creating more awareness of charities. So I think it really amplifies the gratitude that's expressed. And this is, again, a non-for-profit app, 100% pass-through to all the charities. So thank you for giving me the opportunity just to talk about it. And again, it's under Gratis Foundation on the App Store. So I would appreciate it if you tried it out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Navneet Singh. As you can see, what it says, let's amplify the impact of gratitude. So I would like to also plug in here the Kushi app that we have. CWC has a Kushi app. Make sure you download that, become a member. And then the second part is you may have seen the QR codes outside. We would like you all to take a survey. It will take less than 5 minutes. Tell us what you felt today. Give us a feedback on the event. And also, it will give you more information about CWC and being a member. So thank you, Doctor, for educating us on the impact of gratitude. Thank you. So over to the next segment, I'm going to invite Dr. Sachin Deshmukh to introduce the Heartfulness Institute. Please, Dr. Sachin, come on stage. He's a homeopath doctor, he's a yoga practitioner, and he is one of our patrons of CWC. And one of the things that Dr. Sachin ensures is all the volunteers, everybody who's part of CWC is healthy. So he makes sure that we go through some yoga sessions, mindfulness sessions, breathing sessions. That's Dr. Sachin for you.
Thank you, everyone. So, how are you enjoying the session so far? So, my job is to say also thanks to the wonderful premises which is given to us through the Heartfulness Institute. And they are also going to share some meditation with us. As much I know their background work, you can see into the slide. It's a non-profit organization with strong global presence in over 165 countries. There are 14,000 plus certified trainers. They are engaged with 600 plus corporates and 50,000 plus schools and colleges which incorporate these programs. And then they also support corporate programs, and everything is supported by the volunteers. So many hands make miracles, and we experience this now in the process. As much I know their background, they have 4 values. So the cleaning, the inner cleaning, and then relaxation, meditation, and then also inner connectedness. So these are the very powerful values. And at CWC, we take the mind-body wellness very seriously. As you see, wonderful speakers validating through the science, as you heard even today and in the past. Before I invite the team from the Heartfulness Center, I would like to share a funny story. And that story is that one man was sitting into a train and he was thinking, my life sucks and I hate my job and my boss is terrible and I don't enjoy doing things and so on. So the wishing angel who was sitting next to him, he smiled and he said, strange humans, I don't know why they do things this way, but I am the wishing angel, so I have to fulfill their wishes. Right? So the whole of this project is to, you heard wonderful speakers talking about the importance of yoga, meditation, positive attitude. So we will actually put that to the practice and then give the wishing angel good job to feel the gratefulness and the positivity, longevity, and the wishing well for everyone. And may everybody be happy and everybody be well, and the earth becomes a living heaven for all of us. So thank you, and let's invite the Heartfulness team to take over.
Good morning, all. I hope you're good afternoon, right? I hope you're all having a good day here and enjoying yourselves. Yes. Great. So, I mean, we've had a wonderful panel of speakers here, and all of us who are here today are here to make ourselves a little better than what we are. Right? That's what we're here for. And heartfulness is all about, taking our version today and making a better version of ourselves and doing it every day. Right? When we connect to our heart and allow our connection to the center to work its magic from within, that's when, we become really aligned and integrated as a personality. So our global guide recently talked about the Sanskrit word for health. In Sanskrit, it's called swasthya, which literally translates to being centered or steady within yourself. And when you're immersed in that connection within your own center, it becomes possible to transform ourselves. And today, you'll have a chance to experience the power of that positive transformation, which in heartfulness happens through a gentle, natural energy called yogic transmission that flows into us when we are connected with our center. So, without much ado, I want to start you off with a brief video about the heartfulness movement. And then, we'll have, I think we have about half an hour today together. So the last 15 minutes of our time together will be a practical meditation session where you'll get a chance to experience the power of yogic transmission and really immerse ourselves. I really loved this idea that you mentioned about finding a light in the darkness. And we'll spend about 15 minutes just immersing ourselves in that light and love, which is inside all of us. That's what we'll do practically, but before that, let's get started off with a short video. Is the video coming up?
In a world full of chaos, stress, and anxiety, we all need a moment of peace. A moment when we let go of all worries. A moment that charges us to take on life's challenges. A moment when we plunge within ourselves and come out refreshed. A moment of simplicity. A moment of happiness. The source of real happiness lies within each of us, in our hearts. We just need to learn to connect with it.
Our entire life is led by feelings and inspirations. And that is the role of the heart. And when we manage to listen to the feelings and capture the inspirations that comes from within, I think we can master our life by listening to heart again and again.
Heartfulness meditation is a form of Raja Yoga that teaches us how to connect to our heart. As one learns how to meditate deeply, letting go of all mental complexities and tuning into the heart, a sense of inner balance and calmness begins to prevail.
The whole exercise of fine-tuning the heart with the mind is through this meditation on the heart. That's why we call this process heartfulness meditation.
This simple yet effective system has been prevalent for more than 100 years. Today, it is followed by over 1 million people across 120 countries. Thousands of meditation, retreat, and research facilities serve as centers where individuals from all walks of life, diverse nationalities, different religious backgrounds, various social and economic circumstances come together, transcending boundaries in an atmosphere of love, trust, and brotherhood. With a significant online presence, the Heartfulness app, YouTube channel, Heartfulness magazine, and a rich body of literature makes the practice easily available to seekers. The Heartfulness Institute is a nonprofit organization that brings the heartfulness meditation and relaxation methods to individuals, corporations, universities, schools, and communities. Thousands of volunteers and more than 6,000 certified trainers around the globe allow the services of the Institute to reach individuals totally free of charge. The vision of the Founding Fathers has been to create a society that is heart-centered, loving, and compassionate. Change in society can happen only through a change in each individual.
So at the Heartfulness Institute, we've also been involved in a lot of research, trying to validate scientifically the benefits of meditation. And our director of Heartfulness Research is Dr. J. Timapuram, and I have a short video here from him. And let's listen to him to see some of the studies that we've performed.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Jay Timapuram. I'm an internal medicine physician. and I'm an adjunct professor of medicine. I'm also the director of Heartfulness Institute for research. And thank you all for being here. And what I'm going to do is to share some of the work that we did in the field of research on meditative practices. And the practice that I'm familiar with is heartfulness meditation. And especially in the area of burnout and well-being. This is a study that we did and published in 2017 in the Journal of Community Hospital Internal Medicine Perspectives. So this was a study on burnout, emotional well-being, and also telomere length, right? Have you ever felt emotionally exhausted? Have you ever felt that there is a little cynicism that's creeping in? And have you ever felt that you're not performing to the best possible extent? I think all of us go through these symptoms, right? All of us go through these experiences. And this is basically what burnout is all about, right? And to me, physical exhaustion is much better. I can rest, I can recover. But when I'm emotionally exhausted, it becomes a little difficult for me to bounce back. So the question that we had was whether the practices of heartfulness can affect burnout. I work with resident physicians and they're very dear to my heart. We wanted to find out whether these practices help resident physicians, faculty members, and nurses. We had two groups. One group went through a 12-week practice of heartfulness, and the other group continued as usual with the available resources that are normally there, for example, the EAP services. And what we did was we measured burnout through Maslach burnout inventory that measures emotional exhaustion, depersonalization of cynicism, and personal accomplishment. We also measured emotional well-being with the positive attributes and negative attributes, which was a subjective scale that was developed in collaboration with our research department. And we measured the salivary telomere length at the beginning of the study and at the end of the study. And what we found was very interesting. The group that went through heartfulness meditation practice for 12 weeks, we saw that there was a decrease of emotional exhaustion, there was a decrease of depersonalization or cynicism, and there was even an increase in the personal accomplishment scores. And all these changes were statistically significant. And when we looked at the control group, we did not see any statistically significant changes. And when we look further into the emotional well-being, the positive attributes such as concentration, calmness, clarity of goal, harmony, sleep, joy, positive thinking, honesty to oneself, all of them improved with statistical significance. They increased. And when we looked at the negative attributes such as anger, stress, anxiety, fear, irritability, jealousy, addiction, apathy, cynicism, and impulsiveness, those scores decreased with statistical significance. Now, when we looked at the telomere length, the findings were very interesting. And what are these telomeres, right? We have our chromosomes within the nucleus, right? And within the chromosomes, we have the DNA. And at the tip of our chromosome, the chromosomal DNA, there is a structure called telomere. It's almost like a cap-like structure, or something that's very similar to the tip of our shoelaces or aglets, right? So these telomeres are protective in nature. The longer the telomeres are, it offers a degree of protection, and it is often implicated with longevity as well. The longer telomeres are often associated with longer life and healthy lifestyle, right? And stress can shrink these telomeres. No wonder they say stress can take out a couple of years of our lives, right? So the question that we had was whether the practices of meditation, the heartfulness meditation practice, increases or has any effect on telomere length. So when we measured the telomere length at the beginning of the study and at the end of the study, this is what we found. Especially in the younger population, we saw that the group that went through the meditative practice for 12 weeks, there was an increase of telomere length, and this increase was statistically significant. Though there was a change in the control group, it did not reach the statistical significance. So this was an interesting finding telling us, or at least suggesting, that these practices can be helpful even at the level of our DNA or chromosomal level, at the level of the telomere activity, right? And the other thing that we did after we conducted and completed this study, we published it in the Journal of Community Hospital Internal Medicine Perspective. And the summary of it was that the 12-week practice was associated with a decrease of burnout symptoms. There was an increase of emotional well-being, and in the younger population, the subset of population, the telomere length increased. And any study, when we see a result that is suggestive of a particular finding, the next thing to do is to see if we can replicate it, right? We try to replicate the study or replicate the telomere analysis using heartfulness meditation practices. And this was a study that we published very recently this year. And we wanted to find out whether heartfulness meditation practice was effective in anxiety, perceived stress, well-being, and telomere length and cortisol levels, right? And this was a study done on students. We had 50 students in each arm. One group went through heartfulness meditation practice and the other group carried on as usual, right? And what we found was there was an improvement in all the well-being parameters that were measured through questionnaires. And when we looked at the telomere length, there was an increase of telomere length in the group that was meditating compared to the control group. And this confirmed the findings from our previous study that these practices of heartfulness meditation is likely to have an impact on telomere length. And we also measured the cortisol levels. Cortisol is our stress hormone, right? And the body's response to any stress, sometimes the cortisol levels go up. And it is when the cortisol levels go up beyond what is necessary, the results can be detrimental. It was shown in our study that was recently published that the cortisol levels, the stress levels or the stress hormone levels went down with the practices of meditation. And this was a very interesting finding because we also saw that there was a correlation between the telomere length and the cortisol levels. And that was a very unique finding from the study that was recently published. These are some of the studies and some of the work that we did on burnout, right? And some of the things that we are planning to do in the future is to explore psychosocial, neurological, biochemical, genetic, and epigenetic correlates of meditative practices. And as Heartfulness Institute, we are also interested in collaborating with like-minded organizations and explore a scientific way to the practices of meditation for the greater good of humanity. And I would like to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share some of the work that we did. And thank you.
So we'd like to move into the practical portion of today's session now. And, we, at Heartfulness, we really believe in this idea that, we make our own destiny, right? So you can see this image here of this person who's chiseling himself. And the practice that we have, our mission really is to take meditation into every household and give you a chance to adopt it and integrate it into your lives, to break down barriers. Right? With that end, let's all just settle down and we'll lead you through a practical relaxation and meditation session for about 10 minutes. Okay. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes very gently. Wiggle your toes and feel them getting more relaxed than ever before. Feel the healing energy from Mother Earth rise up through your feet, helping you relax each and every part of your body. The feet, the ankles, the calf muscles, the knees, the thighs, your legs are completely relaxed. Let this energy rise up through your seat, deeply relaxing your hips, the stomach, and the waist region. Let go of any tightness, tension in your system. Just let it all go. Take a deep breath. Let go. Let this energy rise up through your back. Relaxing the upper back, the lower back. The entire back is completely relaxed. Now let it flow into the chest, relaxing your entire chest region.